up my influence by serving others? What?
Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Dupree, scouring the globe to bring you stories of courage, passion, and resilience. If I could sum up this podcast into one word, I would use empathy. Now let's get inspired.
Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I am your host once again, Brett Dupree, here to drop some inspirational knowledge on you. Today is Josh Elrich's interview, and he was interesting. A guy who went to start a bunch of businesses, now he helps other people start their own and getting out there authentically. And authentic is the key to this podcast, because that is now the time for me to be vulnerable what's going on in my life, because if I can't be vulnerable, how can I expect my guests to be? So I am doing much better than last week. Last week, everything was just too big. I was so down about life. It was just kind of depressing. Honestly, I probably hit a bout of depression. I don't have a diagnosis for it, but I probably hit it. I was really sad. I'm getting out of it now. Well, I still haven't been getting out of bed and working out as much as I'd like. I have been walking. My knees have felt better than ever. I think one of the benefits of this pandemic is the ability to work at home and stay at home and allow my knees to heal. Because just not doing anything, it's the last couple months really, my knees started just getting better and better, and I don't know if they're ever going to be healed until I lose weight, or maybe even if I don't lose weight. But anyway, everything is going hunky-dory. I've made big life decision. I'm not going to mention it here, but it's huge. And so working through freaking out there and the impact that decision has in my life, and trying to ride the wave of emotion and dealing with life. You know, life is complicated. It's one thing I've learned, is life is complicated. It's random. You never know what your emotions happen. You can never know what happens in the future. And it's sometimes hard to make those decisions. And even once you make those decisions, it's hard to stick with them. But being able to look forward to something, I think, has also helped. And also getting my diet a little bit on. At least the last 2 days have been good. And just eating well and being practical in my life. Even though right now I think it's too hot. Sitting here in my underwear recording my podcast, not with any fans on, because fans provide background noise and I don't want any background noise. But hopefully you can't hear the kids running around upstairs. But they seem to have stopped, so thank Jeebus for that, as I was getting sick of that noise. But I don't have a lot to say about my life. One of the aspects of this pandemic that is hard is every day feels like the same. I mean, my birthday is next week. Wow, next week. Probably talk about that more, but it's one thing I was down about, because 42, I wanted to have a big party. Last time I threw myself a party, I was 34, so that was 8 years ago. And I was really planning on celebrating me, because 42, due to the fact that I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is going to be my life, universe, and everything year. And now it just doesn't have that same feel due to the fact that, well, we're stuck inside for the most part. I mean, yeah, some people aren't taking this seriously or believe it's a hoax or it's politicized or whatever they want to believe. But I'm taking it seriously. I'm staying inside. I'm doing my best to do my part while still trying to stay sane and love myself and love the people around me. So I hope you are doing well in these trying times. I know no matter what you believe, even if you believe for some reason that I am a sheeple who believes that wearing masks, for some reason masks are created microchips and talk to aliens or something. Even if you are one of those type of people, you know that right now is even for you, right now is a trying time. This is a time of extreme stress. This is a time of extreme anger. This is a time of extremes. This is probably one of the worst years collectively since a world war for so many people. While, I mean, we are in a pandemic and what looks like a huge depression. And a lot of people out of work. There's too much infighting for our government to really do anything. And a lot of things they did were not that effective. USA. And so a lot of people are suffering. Then, I mean, this is one thing that no matter what side of the political spectrum, if you are not a millionaire or really high on the hog right now with a lot of money in the bank, you're suffering. Or you know people who are suffering. You know people who've lost their jobs. You know people who may be losing their house, or you may have known people who died of COVID. I've yet to know anybody who've died, but I have a few friends who've had it, and I've had friends who've had friends or family die. So, I mean, it's the first time that's happened to me. I mean, I've been alive for 40-something years, and I can't remember the last time I knew someone who died of the flu. Even their 90-year-old grandmas. Maybe happened once in my life. Maybe. So, yeah. So this is a big deal. But I just want to say, I do mean this, even though if you had expressed these feelings, I most likely unfriended you from Facebook, because I just don't want to deal with it, and I don't respect your intelligence. But that doesn't mean I don't love you for who you are, and love your heart. And I know that for the most part, most people, even if they are jerks who are willing to believe a racist jerk, that most people have their hearts in the right place. And even the people who, I truly believe there aren't any evil people out there. I mean, there are a couple people who are psychopaths and sociopaths, and they just don't understand human emotion. But I think most people just get caught up into situations where they blame somebody for their lives because it's easier. It's easy to succumb to hate, and a lot of times, unfortunately, the way the world works, the way we're just broken up, sometimes it's race, sometimes it's the Jews, the blacks, the Mexicans, and then that's really unfortunate that to have it. But chances are, if things were equal and we met and had a conversation, most people, unless they gone way down that rabbit hole, we just had a beer, we'd be able to come to an understanding. We just talked. Because most of us are decent human beings. We're just selfish, we're scared, and when we're scared, we make dumb decisions. And there's a lot of scared people out there, and it's really hard to keep the heart open at this time, so I'm working on that, keeping my heart open, keeping love, and all that fun stuff. But love and authenticity is important in this world, especially in your marketing, so that brings me to my interview with Josh Elrich. Josh Elrich is a U.S. Navy veteran who became a serial entrepreneur who builds the companies he needs most in the world. In 2014, he launched UpMyInfluence to help entrepreneurs like himself to attract the perfect audience and grow their brands without the crazy costs and contracts associated with traditional PR companies. Since then, UpMyInfluence, UMI, has evolved into a purpose-driven platform bent on democratizing access to influence. Josh wholeheartedly believes UMI has a moral imperative to help entrepreneurs own their expertise, share their wisdom, and serve the world with their collective message, and to help the members grow their revenue. And now, here is my interview with Josh Elrich. Hello, Josh, and welcome to my podcast.
Hey, Brett. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So you help people get themselves out there?
Yeah, I think there's a real purpose for that, because if we look at the difference of business owners, say someone is very, very good at what they do. And I think there are a lot of people that are listening to our conversation that are excellent at what they do, but I think they're falling into that old school kind of Michael Gerber E-Myth trap. It's like you could be the best actor in the world, but if you are not promoting yourself and selling yourself and networking and growing and getting in front of more and more people, well, then I guess you're just the world's best kept secret. Growing the company, getting visibility, getting exposure, increasing our authority, particularly within our industries. This is the currency that grows businesses today. It's not enough to just make great stuff. A lot of people make great stuff. My job as kind of most of the publicity work that we do is just pro bono. We do a lot of good work for free for small businesses, and we're happy to do so because it comes down to our mission. And that mission is that I believe that every person has a message that can positively impact the world. But again, if I'm not helping, shaping, and guiding you, then you miss out on those opportunities. And it just makes business a lot harder. You have to pay so much to attract attention. I just don't think that that's necessary. I think advertising, Brett, is the tax you pay for being unremarkable. So my job, when we work with our folks in our audience, it's pretty much about helping them own their authority, grow their influence for good so they can do good in the world.
Awesome. So who was Josh before UpMyInfluence?
Well, Josh is someone who failed in business 6 times. some of those failures were pretty spectacular. I mean, prior to my business career, I was in the United States Navy for 5 years, went to college for family science because I wanted to be a love doctor on the radio. That didn't pan out, and I didn't really find too many opportunities, but I did find a lot of opportunities in internet development. Back in the old school days when it was HTML2 and pretty much everything was hand-coded, really, really enjoyed it. And that, of course, when have a unique skill like that, you start exploring lots of businesses. And, some of the businesses did okay for a while, and then I had to make an exit. But through those failures, I ended up going through bankruptcy. I lost a home to foreclosure. I lost another home in a short sale. I had to live with my in-laws. I was married and had 2 kids for close to a year. And that was part of my journey. And it wasn't until my 7th business venture that I finally created Savings Angel. And Savings Angel went on to become a 7-figure a year company. It was because of the lessons that I'd learned prior to that I was truly able to do that.
Wow, that is a lot of failure. I know a lot of people who would quit after one. How are you able to push through that disappointment?
I think part of it had to do with having a bachelor's degree in family science. So not a whole lot you could do with that. That was some of it. Another part is I'd worked in corporate America for a couple of years and I didn't love it. I didn't like it at all. I spent every day worried that I was going to lose my job. I don't know why. It's just in my DNA. My dad was a business owner. My grandma's a business owner. My great-grandpa owned a small town store. He was a business owner. My great-great-great-granddaddy, Amos Elledge, was a proprietor and he sold blocks of ice. He owned a small ice business. And so I think it's, again, it's just in my DNA. I'm just not a very good employee. I think besides that, it has to do with when someone feels the call to serve, from one's own platform. It's really irrelevant how many times you fail because that's what you're supposed to do. So I just kind of kept at it, again, kind of went from one opportunity to another. And really, with Savings Angel, I think I just had developed enough grit. And that grit really made the difference, that there was just no room for failure. That was part of it. And I'd say our whole approach with Savings Angel was helpful because we ended up getting millions and millions of dollars of free advertising, $6 million in revenue earned, well over that. I spent easily less than $100 in advertising. We just didn't advertise. So all I did was become an advocate for our audience. And I just went out and I served. So in my case, I helped people cut their grocery bill in half. I went and I did lots of radio, did lots of TV, started a syndicated newspaper column. And all of this took a lot of time to build up, but I kept at it. I think part of it is I didn't want to pay for advertising. And secondly, I didn't have the money. My first experience on the radio, I earned enough in that one radio segment to pay my heating bill when I started Savings Angel. So I guess I was just kind of hooked, and that just led to more and more opportunities. So today I've been in the press over 2,000 times. I've been on TV alone more than 700 times. And I don't do it necessarily because I'm amazing at it. I just keep showing up and I keep on serving. And I guess it's kind of like my business experiences. Maybe it came from the military. Maybe it's just kind of my stubborn headedness that I get from my dad and my grandma and family members of the past. I guess I just didn't want to give up.
So I'm curious, did you have a time where you felt like, oh man, this is too hard. I want to go back to this job that sucks because of the fake idea of security there?
Yeah, I would, although I just don't think that I searched it enough to find any good options. I think the best thing that I ever found was selling insurance. It just seemed like, well, where does that bring me to in 5-10 years? And does that excite me? I think I'd rather live with hope that I can fulfill who I am in the long term, even if that means sacrifices in the short term. My family and I have always lived, we've always tried to live well below our means. And we certainly, when you're not making any money, that means you got to live pretty modestly. So yeah, I guess that thought has always been there, but the thought wasn't there long enough for me to take too much action on it.
So what made you wanted to start a coupon company? Is that what Savings Angel is?
So Savings Angel for many, 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 many years and we launched in 2007, January 2007. What we would do is we would database every coupon that was available. We would also database every single store sale. And so every single week, the sales would be different. It was actually a lot of work. And what we would do is we would look for matches, because if you can stack a really valuable coupon on top of a really good sale, well, every week we would help our members get 50 to 100 deals for 70% off or better every single week. So all you had to do was just buy what we told you to buy. And you could very easily take an $800-900 a month grocery budget down to $300-400 a month. We would charge people $5 a week for that, and we would help them save $300-400-500 a month. Most people, when they understood our concept, were like, that sounds great. Now, I should point out that this was prior to the extreme couponing craze. This was prior to the economic crash in 2008. So we were well positioned because people got really interested in what we were doing when the time was right. So similarly, in 2020, there's quite a few economic changes that have been taking place. And so if you're positioned to do good, you can do very well in time. So it's companies that adjust very quickly, are there to serve, can actually really grow rapidly. And that's exactly what happened to Savings Angel. I should point out that as the economy started improving, people started losing interest in having anything to do with couponing. Yeah, so sadly, we had to shut down the membership side of it. And now Savings Angel just exists as a blog, which is great. I still write my column. I still do tons of TV, but I spend like 99% of my time with my new venture, UpMyInfluence. And at UpMyInfluence, I had no intention of starting. Times were really good. I think all business owners should spend a good chunk of their time serving on boards pro bono, mentoring. And I did that. So with veteran-owned, female-owned, minority-owned businesses in our local startup community here in Orlando, I was just doing lots of pro bono work. And so I was doing a lot of work helping them get on TV and helping them get media ready. Well, people started hearing me teach on this subject. That led to invitations to, Josh, nice that you're doing this pro bono work. Could I hire you for our company? I'd be sitting on a board with other people and they'd want to bring me over there, and wasn't really looking for that at the time, but I'm very grateful that I heeded that call. We started building up an agency, and that agency has really become a platform now where we do two things really well. We turn thoughtful entrepreneurs into media celebrities. We also have gotten really, really good at building B2B sales systems, so much so that we only take clients on joint venture. In other words, they really don't need to pay us much. We'll do it just based on a partnership. That said, they need to have a very high value item. It's kind of more of a mutual decision as opposed to I need to sell anybody. We're good. We got lots of partners we're working with right now, but I love what we do. And again, I can just tell you what works really, really well today in building business is when you just focus on relationships and when you focus on serving and giving first, which has really been my philosophy in growing business, both between Savings Angel and UpMyInfluence, is you just give. And, people will let you know if they want more.
In my opinion, authenticity is extremely important, especially today, people are used to being infomercialed over and over again. But it's just something about that connection that helps. But that's also vulnerable. How do you get through that vulnerability block?
So I think at the root of this, a lot of people are just afraid, right? They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid. In my case, like I was constantly fearful. One of my businesses that failed was a small town newspaper. And I was afraid of selling because I didn't want people to think that it was some kind of charlatan or something. Because of that, that kept me from being too visible about that. I was just afraid of selling. We're afraid of a lot of things, but here's what I want you to consider. Having studied and led consumer behavior for 13 years, consumers do not want you to sell. They just don't. The world doesn't need more salespeople. Even if you're a brilliant communicator, no thanks. We're good. What the world needs more than anything is great teachers. If you can be a giving teacher, even if you feel that imposter syndrome and you say, who am I? Right? If you've been focused on a particular subject or a particular industry for any length of time, you've read a stack of books, you've kind of really thought about this, you're ready. You're ready to go out there and start giving. Even if it's like, hey, read this book for the first time, thought I would share my thoughts on this. If anybody else is interested in this subject, I've really kind of been thinking about this and I wanted to kind of summarize this for you. Okay. That, believe it or not, makes you don't have to worry about being an expert. You don't have to worry about being a guru. Just be a giver. People want givers. And in fact, when you speak of authenticity, when we watch television, there are certain people that you're like, yeah, they're trying too hard for the camera. We know exactly what they're doing. It's just, we don't like it. It's just, it feels fake. It feels phony. We would much rather have someone get on stage or get in front of the camera who's imperfect, who's unpolished, but you can tell that they really want to be there for a bigger reason. It's like, look, I'm uncomfortable in this environment. This is just what I need to do, and I need to get better at this because it's who I am. Man, you get someone like that and they share that with you, it's like instantly, oh, I get it. I studied improv comedy for a year. And that's the one thing I learned is, why is it funny? Well, again, for most improv comedians, unless you're master level, like a Wayne Brady or those guys, we love seeing people sweat and kind of like, because we identify with them. When someone is in an improv scene and they're forced to do something uncomfortable like sing, and you could see that uncomfortableness in there when they find out what they have to do, that's funny. We all identify with that because we're like, oh man, I would hate this. Don't be afraid to let them see you sweat. Just let people know. You don't have to use that as a crutch. Don't worry about being perfect. The world doesn't need more salespeople. The world needs more giving and thoughtful teachers.
So before you're talking about mentoring people, did you have a mentor that really helped you? And what's the benefit of mentorship?
I had a board. So in Orlando, we have a great organization, Small Business Development Center. And I had a board of 5 seasoned business pros. And I don't know that they necessarily gave me a lot of great business advice, but they did give me a place to speak. It gave me, when you're running a company, sometimes that saying is, it could be lonely at the top. There's certain things you can talk about with your team. There's certain things maybe you could talk about with your spouse. And then there are other things that, I could share this worry or concern or anxiety I have with my spouse, but they're counting on me to be the rock. That's a tough position to be in when you really don't have anywhere to go to. I think it's really helpful, at the very least, have a group of people that we can connect with, that we can share our fears, our worries, our concerns, and have them say, Josh, it's okay. That's totally normal. That's a part of being in your position. The things I worry about right now, we're going through an immense amount of growth and scaling right now. And the thing that keeps me up at night is, are we fulfilling our promise to our clients? I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll start thinking about a particular client and I'm like, crap, I hope we're doing this. I hope we're doing that. And then the way you combat that, obviously, is you got to build a great team and you got to hire great people, as great as you can afford, and you empower them. And they're not going to be at your level at first, but the more that you trust them, the more opportunity you give them, the more you share in the mission. You don't make the employer-employee or contractor relationship transactional, but make it more about the bigger purpose, the why behind what you do, and let them know, listen, I've got a dream for me. I've got a dream for our clients, for our customers, but I have a dream for our team as well. I want to create this amazing environment for you so that you can have everything that you want. Share that often with your team. But getting back to the original question, I find that having someone that you could just talk stuff out with is so helpful. And in terms of getting great advice, thank goodness. We live in this era of podcasts and YouTube and content. And you have unlimited content. I remember back when my earlier businesses, the only way you could kind of get that would be you'd have to buy tapes on these Nightingale Conan tape sets. And I had stacks of them. What a great time that we live in, from the perspective of that there are so many leaders in business who are willing to give so freely.
So you mentioned that you started UpMyInfluence by accident, or you didn't intend to. What was the story of starting it?
UpMyInfluence, that would be my in the sense of the person who's coming looking for help from us. Yes, we're going to up their influence, but UpMyInfluence, again, was just born out of giving. So a lot of times you look at, well, why do people become speakers? Well, maybe they idolize someone on stage, but maybe they start to get a taste of it and they like it. And whenever we start something, I just think that it's probably appropriate to do a lot of that and not worry so much about making lots of money. Like, you got to get good at your craft. And so one of the best ways to do that is just look for opportunities where you can serve pro bono. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that's what started it. I was doing well with Savings Angel at the time, and I just started serving, and then invitations started coming. And in fact, I remember one was I had specifically said on social media something about, well, I appreciate being able to do consulting, but I am not taking any consulting. I don't know what the comment it was exactly, but I basically said something to the fact of, I'm not doing any consulting. I'm too maxed out. I'm too busy. And so someone, it was a pretty big deal, reached out to me. It's like, come on, please, 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 please. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny. So you got to let people know regularly that you're not accepting new business. And then I guess people want you more. So UpMyInfluence started as, well, okay, so everyone wants my content. This is interesting. And I think this is really important for people to consider, Brett, is that initially, I thought that people wanted to pay because they wanted access to my content. That wasn't really true. They didn't want my content. What they wanted was access to me. So a lot of people are like, oh, I've got this great idea. I'm going to build this e-course, and then I'm going to put it in a sales funnel, and I'm going to put a tripwire, and I'm going to have a lead magnet, and I'm going to trick people through the tripwire, and then they're going to buy all this one-to-many content from me. That worked okay 5+ years ago. I'm just going to tell you, today's sales funnel, and I say in the most kind of click funneled, stereotypical, formulaic sales funnel out there, it's today's MLM. I mean, there's nothing wrong against MLMs, but I think the majority of the population just has a little bit of a negative reaction to that. Again, forgive me for whoever I'm offending right now, but people, especially successful, decision makers, there's no way they are going to sit through a big old long webinar unless it's something they really want to learn. And they're certainly not going to be reading your drip campaign. Please. Anything that's one-to-many, people don't want to be systematized. I mean, just think of you. Do you want to be systematized? No. We want to feel like we're special and we deserve someone's time. So as you get bigger and bigger, you can only do that. And that's what people really were paying for, is they were paying for access to me because they felt, well, Josh really knows his stuff. He's had some success with this. I believe he could probably solve my problem. And even though the content across different people I chat with is going to be about 90% similar, it's that 10%. And that's what people will pay for. In the age of podcasts and YouTube, good luck selling an e-course. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's just consumers just really aren't interested in it when they can get it for free. Like, I'm teaching you the same stuff in this conversation that I would teach you in an e-course. And so why on earth would you pay me for e-courses? Yeah, I don't want you to. We give away what everybody else is selling just because I think that that's what consumers want. That's what I want. So attention is really what you want more than anything. So why not just give it all away for free and build a tribe of people who really appreciate your generosity? And because they see you as such a generous person, they're happy to share and promote you for free. And again, remember, I'm not a big fan of paying for advertising. It's the tax you pay for being unremarkable. I think our goal should be serve your way to remarkableness.
So what do you like best about running this Up Your Influence?
UpMyInfluence.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Good thing I own both domain names, eh? Yeah. UpMyInfluence, it's the outcome that we're able to create. There's, again, two things we do. We turn our clients into media celebrities. So when I see them get quoted in a really large media outlet and they're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We are helping them have their voice and grow their voice and be recognized. There's this innate sense of fairness that I've always had because I was largely, I still am, pretty geeky in terms of who I was and who I am. And that doesn't really work out so well in middle school. It's like, man, I guess I want everybody to be recognized for who they are. I just happen to work really, really hard to figure out that path to do that. So we work really hard to do that. I love being able to get other people recognized for their contribution. See, again, it's like if we all had a huge platform, think of the good that would happen in the world. So I don't think it's fair that only some people get to be quote unquote influencers and other people who have a giving heart, maybe at the time they don't have it. My job is to speed that process up for them. And the other thing, again, and this is another one of those, where it was just completely unexpected, Brett. But last year we built an amazing, we really followed Bob Berg, the go-giver, and we built a sales system that was focused on giving. We would do that, particularly with people who would be our dream ideal clients. And as a result, we were able to literally 10x. We had over $20,000 monthly recurring revenue in our pipeline, not including what we had on the books at the time in May last year. But by November, by really focusing on serving and giving to our dream ideal clients out there, we were able to 10x that. We had over $200,000 monthly recurring revenue in our pipeline, not including, again, what we had on the books. In 5 months' time, we did that because of this sales system. And it's weird to call it a sales system because it's just about, the best business. Think about it, especially like agencies and experts out there, like your best clients. Where do they come from? You know exactly where they come from. They come from word of mouth. They come from happy customers. They come from networking. They come from relationships. And so why are you spending all your time advertising to people who don't know you? Well, I guess it's the hopes that eventually they'll get to know you. But I think that if you want to attract people that are already successful, I think the idea is you should probably just 10x your rate of relationship building. That's kind of what we build and deploy. And again, we do that in a joint venture format with our clients right now. But that's another one. It was just unintentional because we did this for ourselves. And in October last year, we had one of our clients that, came to me like, listen, I know what you're doing. Can you do that for me? And I was like, well, okay, I guess we can give it a shot. Sure enough, 60 days, they made $75,000 in sales. And I only charged them $3,000. And I'm like, wait a minute here. What would happen if, we reduce the risk for them? Because we know our stuff works. And I don't know how long we'll do this, but for right now, we love it. And instead now of saying, okay, well, it's $10,000 to hire us, we just say, no. Show us what you got. And if we think we can help, then we'll just joint venture on this together. And then that way, it's a much bigger split. We don't take anyone on unless we guarantee we can get them to $50,000. If I can get them to $50,000, we get paid $25,000. It only works for certain people. It only works for B2B generally. It also works if you have a bigger ticket item. If you're selling a $300 product, I'm sorry, it's not going to be a fit for us. But we could work together and figure out if maybe you could come up with a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 offer.
What is B2B?
Yeah, business to business. And this is an important point too. Okay. Even though I say business to business, at the end of the day, everything is consumer driven. Decision makers are consumers. Decision makers with government agencies, big companies, HR directors, whoever it is that you're selling to, we're all consumers. And so similar rules apply. One thing that I've learned, however, is that if you want to sell to someone that has a big budget, they've achieved some success, they are going to be very protective of their time. And so because of that, they're just not going to respond to your spammy DM campaign, whatever you're trying to do, throwing ads in front of them all the time, cold email. It's not going to work. I mean, I know this as a journalist. I get spam on a daily basis. I've been a syndicated newspaper columnist to over 1 million readers for 12 years. I get spammed every day from PR agencies who, by the way, are charging their clients tens of thousands of dollars for that nonsense. And it doesn't work. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. It's only giving you a bad reputation. And instead, find out what you can give them that they want. No strings attached. No, they don't want a free white paper. No, they don't want a quote unquote free consultation, which is code for a sales call. Nope. It's going to have to be something a little bit better than that. So you're going to need to figure out what that is. For us, because PR is what we do, and we turn our clients into known media celebrities, we invite them onto our podcast. And, just like, listen, we'd love to feature you. Got over 100,000 people in our audience. Love to feature you on our daily podcast. If you're doing 6 figures or more in business, the Thoughtful Entrepreneurs, our podcast, we'd love to have as a guest. And that's what we do. And if we never do business with them, that's totally fine. We're happy to keep producing content with them. But if you listen to that podcast, all you're doing is listening to me interview my dream ideal clients, people I'd love to work with. And currently, we close about 40 to 50% of those into some sort of business. I buy a lot of books. I've hired a lot of my guests. It's just like when two cool people get together, like at a conference, and then invariably that conversation goes to, so tell me what you do. What do you do? Hey, why don't we chat next week and see if there's a way we can work together? Man, what I want is I want to have like 5 to 10 of those conversations every single business day. That's kind of what this system is. And that's what we provide for our clients.
Awesome. So we are coming to the end of our time together. One thing I like to ask my guests is do a 1 minute of motivation. You can imagine this as if you have a time machine and you're going back to your 8-year-old self. You want to convey everything you need to live a happy, joy-filled life. But unfortunately, you only have a minute until you're taken back to the future. Or you can think of it as taking your entire life's message and condensing it down to a minute. Are you ready?
Yep. And you know what? There's not going to be a perfect minute. So I know it's kind of funny. The person who's listening to me right now is like, oh, shoot, what would I say? What would I say? And it's like, listen, here's one thing I've learned about improv. And before I do this, I want the person who just thought, just like I did, oh, crap, what am I going to say? Because it's got to be a perfect minute. No, it doesn't. And that's one thing I've learned in improv. It's just like, you build a scene whatever comes out is perfect for that moment. Anyway, I didn't mean to get sidetracked by a little bit of, meta. Just anyone else who finds themselves when they're asked to say recite the perfect minute, guess what? It ain't going to happen. And that's what makes it perfect. Oh, you ready for me to do my minute?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Listen, little Josh, you are a cool kid. All right. Now here's the deal. The next few years are going to be kind of rough socially. You're going to get picked on. You're going to feel really different from everybody else. I want you to know that right now, that doesn't feel very special to you. But I want you to know that that is what is going to help you become the man that you need to be so that you can truly serve. You got to go through what you're about to experience over the next few years. And because of your desire to help other people, because of your desire that you like people, you generally believe in and love people. And because you just want to give more to the world, you're not necessarily going to feel the rewards of that when you're in your younger ages. But as you get older, that is going to make you such an important person in the lives of so many people. Please have the faith that you're doing the right thing, that you are that perfect soul, the perfect person that you need to be. And just know that this preparation is exactly not just what you need, but it's what the world needs. And so keep moving forward with your heart full of love, because that's what the world needs more of right now as well. Keep on being a giver. Keep on looking to make the lives of other people happier. Again, kids may not really get it at this point, but trust me, when you're connected with all of them on this thing called Facebook, many, many, many years from now, you are going to see the fruits of your philosophy versus the fruits of maybe a philosophy that's not focused on generosity so much. And I'm going to tell you right now that while you're going to have a little bit of a roller coaster, you are going to have a ride that is going to be so fulfilling that you will spend every day in gratitude for all of these experiences, good or bad, that have made you who you are today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I very much enjoyed your story on how you failed 6 times before you found the success. The resilience to keep on going is always something that I find inspiring. But the other thing I find inspiring is the desire to give, and to serve others in a way, instead of a lot of businesses, which just feels like they try to take from society, but way to give, to grow is just an amazing concept that I enjoy hearing works. And so thank you so much for everything you do for this planet. And thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Brett, thank you so much.
May your day be special. There you have it, folks. That was my interview with Josh Elledge. I really liked his idea of service. That is one thing that I think is necessary to be not only a business that helps people and makes money in a great way, but also a business that, in my opinion, you can always be proud of. I think that is one thing in our society, that we put too much emphasis on making money rather than being proud of how we make our money. It's kind of like the heart and the mind. The mind can justify freaking anything, but if you put your heart into your work and be willing to serve and run your business from heart, from love, from being, and to make this world a better place, I think that allows a certain general well-being in life overall. I think one thing we as human beings like is this idea that we matter, that we make a positive impact in this planet. And to be able to serve each other well is a good way to recognize the fact that we do well, and each dollar we bring in, we don't have to justify it or even go out and do a lot of drugs, snort a lot of cocaine, buy a lot of boats, or miserly, or make money for the sake of money, but make service for the sake of service and having the money come in. And I think that's a great way to do business, and I hope for sake of our society and the human existence on this planet that we shift to a more service, love-based form of capitalism. I know maybe I shouldn't go on a capitalistic rant after hearing Up My Influence, as I don't know how Josh feels, but I feel if we bring more heart into it, and listening to Josh, that really stood out to me was the heart and the love he puts into his business, especially the ones that truly took off. First, creating one of service to help people save money on groceries, because honestly, we all need food to live, and to save a lot of, especially families with grocery money, is great. And then helping people, awesome people and businesses, get their message out there so that they can serve people, I think is also great. So if you want to learn more about Josh and check out his podcast, you can check out Josh at savingsangel.com or Josh at UpMyInfluence.com. Notice how I kept on calling it Up Your Influence, but apparently you can find him there as well. Remember, he is going to up your influence at My Influence. Get it? So check him out. And that is episode 83 of the Joyous Expansion Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to it. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your listening to my podcast. Therefore, I love you for who you are. You can share this episode. That'd be awesome. You can add reviews to however you listen to it. It would be very special to me. You can find me more episodes at pod.joyousexpansion.com. Of course, me at joyousexpansion.com. You can find me also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter at Joyous Expansion. But on Facebook, you can find me at Increase Your Joy, because my SEO game is terrible. Once again, I'm Brett Dupree. You can email me at for any reason at BRE2Ts, DUPR2Es at joyousexpansion.com. Once again, I love you for who you are. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Brett Dupree, the champion of authentic joy, catalyst of transformation for the Church of Awesome, and Joyous Expansion Life Coach, wishing you once again to be loved, to be joy, to be awesome. Now play my jingle.
JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Come and say hello to Brett Dupree. He is an inspirational life coach. Good for you and good for me. He turned my life from grey to blue. I'm sure he'll do the same for you. Get in touch and you'll see your life will change dramatically. JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com.